Imagine this for me. 7-year-old girl. This girl has really crooked teeth, tanner skin, a short bob cut. Well, you don't have to. That was me. Right, loads. I also had an eye patch for an extended part of the first grade. And you can only begin to imagine some of the names I was called, but some of my personal favorites were Dora by my older brother, Patchy the Pirate by all 3 of my older siblings, Patchy for short if they were in a good mood. The bullying started in the house, like it usually does as a form of teasing when you have siblings. But then it started on the bus, because my siblings would call me names, their friends would hear and call me it. All the younger kids would call me names, and then it just became majority of everyone I went to school with. I don't remember every name I was called, but I do remember I went home crying every single day because kids can be mean. It got a little better, I let my hair grow out, but my teeth were still really crooked, so that was usually the pinpoint for the bullying. I remember 4th grade, jump rope for heart. I was talking to one of my friends, and I had these 2 kids come up behind me, tie me with the jump rope, and knock me to the ground. School was my personal hell. I liked learning, I loved to see my friends at recess, and I liked most of my teachers, but every day I went to school, I had a target on my back. About 19.2% of students in grades K through 12 experienced bullying nationwide during the 2021 to 22 school year season, and it was only anticipated to go up, so you can only imagine what number it's at now. Now, it wasn't until the 2nd grade when my friend Shane moved to my school that I remember anyone being kind to me or having a reason to actually go to school. He was new from California, and he was given the choice to sit next to anybody he wanted to, so he sat next to me because I was the only one by myself, and he introduced himself. You see, my friend Shane and I, we have something in common. We're both bullied. And sure, that's not something positive to bond over, but at least we could talk to each other knowing that we'd be understood. And to make matters even worse, we had a bully in common, but it was a little worse for him because it wasn't his brother, it was mine, which we'll get back to later. The bullying slowed down for me completely once my hair grew out and I learned to take care of it, but for him, he never outgrew his love for theater, and I guess being a boy and liking Broadway and theater and all that stuff was considered weird. Now, for Shane, it was a really rare exception, being that he was cyberbullied almost just as much as he was bullied in the classroom. Statistically speaking, it's more common to be bullied in the classroom than it is online, but for him, I'd say it was a pretty close 50-50. Now, for anyone who knows me personally, you know I don't really care about what other people think of me. At least not anymore. I've learned that there's no way possible to make everybody like you or approve of you, so why even bother trying? Why give so much energy towards that? Why not just be happy with the people who do like you for you? But I'd be lying if I told you I didn't get extremely insecure about how I look from time to time, or I wasn't self-conscious about who I am as a person. Because the reality of it is, bullying has such a significant cognitive effect on the brain, especially at adolescent time. And the brain's like a sponge. The best way I can explain it to you is you can wring out all the soapy water and the sponge will still have to dry. You still have to leave it there for sometimes hours. With the brain, it takes years to forget. Now, I haven't been fully transparent with you up to this point. Yeah, I was bullied for years on end. That's true. Yeah, Shane was the first person that was actually nice to me in school. That's also true. And I don't want to say that I benefited from the bullying, but it definitely gave me tougher skin. But Shane can't say the same for himself. Shane can't say anything at all. Today would have been Shane's 19th birthday. He took his life back in April of 2018 because of how badly he was bullied. And now I was 10 years old in the 5th grade the night I got the news. I'm now a graduating senior. I turned 18 in 18 days, and not a day has gone by where I don't think that this was completely unavoidable. And in the beginning, I struggled a lot with talking about it. Now I can talk about it a little more, but something important to know, to go back to my brother, is I didn't speak to my brother for 2 years because of how hurt I was that he contributed to the reason Shane is no longer here. Now, before Shane passed away, he'd made a few things clear. One, he loved the fact that I was a performer, I dance and I sing, and I think that's the only reason I've stuck to it to this point. 2, that he'd perform if he could perform without fear of judgment, but he was always too worried that other people would say stuff to him. And 3, he loved and admired his mom, Mrs. Resnick, so much, and that she was just this extraordinarily supportive and kind person. Shane passed away just short of Mother's Day the year he died, and he talked about wanting to get his mom these specific flowers. There were 3 colors. He didn't explain the significance behind the colors, but there was significance. So that year, I went to her house and I brought her the flowers and a card that explained who I was, why I was there, and left a story about Shane. She wasn't home, so I left it at the doorstep and I just went about my day. A few days later, she posted something on Facebook and one of my family members saw it and said, "Hey, she's trying to find a way to reach out to you." And it wouldn't have been the first time that I talked to her, but I'd met her while we were in elementary school, so it had been a while since I talked to her. So at first I was very hesitant to reach out, but once I reached out, it became very apparent very quick why Shane admired his mom. She really was this extraordinarily kind person. She owed me nothing in talking to me. I was just her youngest son's friend. I wasn't anyone she necessarily knew or wasn't related, wasn't friends with her. But very quickly, we got to know each other. She began to text me updates about her website. She started showing up to my performances. She's let me stay at her house when I needed a place to stay. She's let my grandma and I stay over during a snowstorm, invited us over for dinner. She's texting me updates about her website that she made, which we'll go back to. And just being an ear that's willing to listen whenever I was having difficulty with the loss of Shane. Now, the website that she made was called shanesimagination.org, and it soon became a nonprofit organization. And it just talked about her experience in losing Shane, some statistics and facts about bullying and suicide, and then she left some stories about things Shane had done, but the one that stuck out to me the most in particular was the high five story. It was about a boy on the bus that looked really upset that day, so Shane just gave him a high five and was talking to him. And the biggest takeaway from that was one simple act of kindness could save your life. One simple act of kindness could save a life. What does that mean? Well, it's not something that's forced, shouldn't be. It's not something you should feel obligated to do. It's something that should be very genuine and from the heart. Now, I've been lucky enough to experience a few simple acts of kindness, especially during my time when I transferred into Brewster. The first one being right in the beginning when I was new. I was having a really difficult time at home with my mom. We couldn't even coexist together. It got that bad. And my now best friend, Kristen, who was a complete stranger at the time, goes, "Just come stay with me. I'll tell my parents what's going on." And after so many "are you sure's," and I don't want to be a burden on you, I ended up living with her for 3 weeks, the first time. It's happened a few more times, but the first time she didn't know me. I'd known her maybe 3 weeks. I'd only actually hung out with her at the homecoming dance outside of school. And she was totally willing to just let me come and stay. And her family, that didn't know me at all, were all so welcoming towards me, and they're now like my second family, and I'm really grateful for that. And while that may not be a small act, rather a big gesture because I was a complete stranger and Kristen had shown such kindness towards me, the 2 other stories I have are more simple. One was in geometry class and the other was in English class, all during my transfer. The one in English class, I'm sitting down, just with my head down doing my work, and this boy comes running past my desk going, "Alyssa!" and daps me up. I look up, I didn't even know the kid knew my name. I knew nothing about him. And I ended up sitting next to him for more than half of the school year being told to stop talking and actually get work done. And then in geometry class, I talked to this boy before class started, but I'd avoid using his name because I couldn't remember his name to save my life. That's how little I knew about him. I refer to him as a really loud blonde kid in my class. I got unenrolled for 2 weeks because I didn't show proof of residency on time during my transfer. And when I came back, I just went down to my desk and I sat for every class, but particularly in geometry, he saw me, came barreling from across the room going, "What happened to you? I thought you died." So I'm sitting there trying to explain what happened as he snatches my phone from my hands, puts his phone number in his Snapchat, and goes, "Text me if this happens again so I don't think you're dead for 2 weeks." Now, these may seem really stupid and silly to you, but to me, they meant everything because in those moments I felt seen, which is something I hadn't felt in such a long time. Particularly at my old school, but even in my transfer, I was in a really bad place because transferring, while it ended up benefiting me, at the time seemed like the end of the world. Yeah, the kids I was going to school with were a reminder that my friend was dead and that he's never coming back. I'll never see him again. But I also didn't grow up with you guys at Brewster. I grew up over there. 12, 13 years of my life spent growing up with these kids, experiencing the same things, whether it be being afraid of the 4th graders in elementary school, the fear of not being able to open my locker on time during middle school, and the fear of the big bad seniors, which now we are, during freshman year. So I thought my last 3 years of high school I would just keep my head down, do whatever I could to make it through, stay out of everyone's way, and just keep to myself. But because of these experiences, I've been able to feel comfortable enough to talk to more people, make new friends, try doing after school stuff as much as I don't want to, and all of that. And I'm really grateful for that. I don't know who I'd be or where I'd be without them. And I couldn't thank any of my friends enough, which is why I'm standing in front of you like a broken record telling you to be kind. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, whether you know the person or whether you don't. Being kind doesn't just benefit the person on the receiving end, but also the person on the giving end. In being kind, you'll find that your self-esteem, your self-confidence, and your overall happiness levels get boosted. You'll never know if that one thing that you say that means absolutely nothing to you means the world to somebody else. And the world's huge. There's 8 billion of us, and we only get to live once. In a world that's so big where you can choose to be anything you want to be, choose to be the kind face in the sea of unkind ones. And you'll know that if someone had at least one positive thing in their day, it was you being kind to them. Whether you know the person, you don't, they're a stranger, they're your friend, just be kind. Try and be kind to at least one person each day. You'll see it really does start to make a difference. And my friends are my reason to strive to be kind every day, and are the reason that I make it to the end of even my hardest days. What's yours? Thank you.